Let me start out by thanking everyone for posting your questions and making this video possible. Let's get started. Following question is one I keep receiving, and I'll answer it for the last time. Would you have ever stayed in the Mafia if your former family did not betray you? My answer is along the same lines as, if a wife didn't cheat on her husband, would he still be married? If a wife didn't steal all her husband's money, would he still be with her? The answer is yes, and my wife's name was Lucchese. If a boss's child is getting married, are all made men supposed to donate money, whether or not they're invited to the wedding? Typically, every crew would put money together to go in an envelope, whether they're attending the wedding or not. Is the Dragna family still active? The family was one based in Los Angeles, named for Jack Dragna, who actually was living in New York before relocating to LA. Where that family is today, or whether they're still active, I honestly have no idea. Were you introduced to Sonny Mazzone as a member during your trip to Philadelphia? When I was in Philly, among the members I was introduced to, one happened to be Sonny, who had just been straightened out. Is the New York City Concrete Club still active? The Concrete Club was formed in the 80s, involving 4 of the 5 New York families. And although the club no longer exists, the mob continues to make money in the construction industry, specifically with concrete companies. When you were active in the life, how often did the Luccheses hold induction ceremonies? And did you attend any besides your own? Typically, there are 2 ceremonies a year, and I didn't attend any besides my own, and most guys don't. What year did they officially close down the Lucchese Social Club? It was during the end of my time, and I don't remember exactly when, possibly sometime in late 2017 or early 2018. I do remember Johnny Sideburns telling me that they closed the club down. Did Big John ever hold meetings with the entire crew to inform everyone of changes or developments in the family, or was getting everyone together in the same place discouraged? For the most part, we didn't all get together in one place, with the exception of wakes and dinners. Certain guys in the crew were told to show up on one day and the remainder on other days, specifically to discuss any business. What was your favorite thing about being around the old-timers during your time in life? Was it their wisdom, adherence to the rules, or their perspectives? For me, it was a combination of all those things. And more than anyone, it was the time spent with the old-timers that I enjoyed the most. If there was one thing you could say to Matthew Madonna after his 85th birthday, what would it be and why? First and foremost, it would be to repent, because he's at the end of his life now. I also would say to him, looking back now, don't you think you should have followed Vic's instructions in that letter? Was there ever truly a boss of bosses after the formation of the commission? Following Lucky Luciano, many people claim Carlo Gambino held that title. But in reality, the reason he had a great deal of power on the commission was due to the respect he had and the friendships with other commission members who would naturally vote his way. Here's a question that hasn't been asked before. When you request a sit-down, how long does it usually take to organize, and how do you pick locations? It's not something that takes place on the spot, usually within a few days, but can take longer to set up. As for location, one of the parties involved would recommend a place. What if Sal Vitale, the Banana Wonder boss, didn't become a government witness? In January 2003, Vitale was arrested alongside Joe Massino, his brother-in-law, and boss of the family. And by February 2003, a month later, Vitale was cooperating. If that wasn't the case, I'm sure he would have been convicted, and if not in that case, Massino began cooperating the following year, and Vitale would have been a government target. How would a boss discipline a member who's been skimming money from the family's rackets? If today they were only shelving members and not killing them, would the shelf member get to keep the stolen money and return to civilian life? Okay, for starters, if a member was caught skimming years ago, they would be killed. Since killing people is something that hasn't taken place in over a decade, the guilty member would absolutely be shelved and may receive a beating on top of that. And no one's letting a guy who's been robbing keep any money. Why is Andrew DeSimone no longer the consigliere? Was he demoted or did he step down? Andrew DeSimone stepped down and was not taken down. His reasoning for doing so, I have no idea. Why didn't the family take Vic down from the boss position after he allowed or was involved in gas pipe killing members and labeling them informants? The short answer is because Vic is the official boss, which goes a very long way in that life. Labeling its members is not only common practice, but acceptable in the Lucchese family. It's a Lucchese thing. If Patrick Balsamo puts in a beef, never acts like a cowboy, and wins that sit-down decision, from your experience, what does Balsamo and his daughter receive? The first thing to keep in mind, sit-downs is between families and members. This one in particular would be between the Gambinos and whatever Bonanno member represents Balsamo. He and his daughter don't necessarily receive anything, possibly an apology, but I would highly doubt that, because as the story goes, Carmine Ciangia's brother denied the accusations. The mob life is a very destructive life to lead, and the list of negatives is very long. Can you name any positives that actually came to you because of the life? One of the greatest positives I took away from that life was that by dealing with all the phoniness and relationships of convenience, it not only taught me, but made me appreciate people who deserve my loyalty and respect. Do you know when and why the East Harlem crew of the Lucchese's was dismantled and what happened to its members? I don't know when that crew was no longer active. The Lucchese family had a social club in Harlem, and at some point that club was closed, and members of that crew were put with crews in the Bronx. What was the everyday schedule for a guy in the life? Mandatory club meetings every day? Social events? What if a member worked a full-time job? Most members did have jobs, so we worked around our job schedules. We did meet socially, and there was no daily meetings at a club. If we needed to meet and discuss anything, we'd make an appointment to get together. Please remember to hit the like button if you haven't already, as it helps with YouTube's algorithm. And for anyone who wants to show appreciation for videos like this, or help keep this podcast going forward, you can do so by the Super Thanks icon down below, or the PayPal Cash App links in the video's description. Are there any songs you hear that bring you back to a specific time or place? Like most music, there are songs that bring certain time periods of my life to mind. However, I'd have to say In My Life by the Beatles reminds me of the past the most whenever I hear it. And for the final question, how was it for you to transition from that life of betrayal and treachery and the knowledge that it was those close to you that would betray you, to thinking and living like a civilian? When everything that was happening hit me and started to make sense, the feeling of ultimate betrayal was difficult to process. Afterwards, I tried everything I possibly could do and pushed back alone with a pistol, going to meetings and voicing my position. The Monday morning quarterbacks in that same position would have shit their pants, trust me. As far as thinking like a civilian, it's more difficult than living like one, if that makes any sense. Lately, every single day, I have to talk myself out of taking a trip to Westchester with a hatchet. So it's definitely a struggle to think like a civilian.